Welcome back to the cryptowrld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin is still struggling around that massive 100k price level as the price of Bitcoin is currently rejecting from this critical resistance here in the short term. And on top of that, we're now seeing a new bearish signal flash on this Bitcoin chart that we need to pay attention to. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, starting off on the weekly Bitcoin chart, and right now the price of Bitcoin is technically still looking bullish on these larger timeframes, playing out this massive bull market signal. So on the weekly time frame, not much has changed on this chart over the last couple of days, and the same can be said about this chart as well. Technically speaking, we're still playing out this massive bullish cross in the weekly Bitcoin MACD. But even though the price of Bitcoin is technically still within a larger bull market on the larger timeframes, especially with this super trend indicator still sitting in the green on the 4-day time frame, indicating a larger bullish market, even though that's the case, obviously as of right now, here in the weekly Bitcoin MACD, even though it's technically still in the green, it is starting to lose some bullish momentum. But obviously, this is not the first time this has happened. We saw this happen roughly around a year ago, which was also pretty much exactly 1 to 2 months after this bullish cross initially confirmed around end of October, early November 2023. So things are happening basically exactly 1 year later, very, very similar to what we saw last year. And what came next in the price of Bitcoin? Well, first of all, once we saw that bullish crossover, we saw that huge bullish move in the price of Bitcoin, and then we started to see a bit of a sideways consolidation, so choppy sideways price action, meaning short-term bearish and short-term bullish price action, just trading sideways, while the MACD was showing we're starting to lose some bullish momentum. And so right now, that is potentially just starting to happen, at least in the short term. Once again, we could be due to see a bit more of a sideways consolidation, so some choppy sideways price action here in the short term before ultimately continuing the larger bull market later on, as we did last time. And so, as I always say, even though we're technically still within a bull market, of course, it's very normal to see these little sideways consolidations or slight little pullbacks along the way during a larger bullish market. And part of the reason why the price is struggling around this level right here is, of course, due to the fact that we have that 1618 Fibonacci extension on the weekly time frame sitting at approximately 102,000. So around 100k to 102k, we have a lot of resistance right there. And of course, as I've also mentioned many times recently here on the channel, we have a strong psychological level of resistance at $100,000 per Bitcoin. So basically, a lot of people are focusing on 100k and taking profits around that level. And so this is causing resistance. In other words, the price struggling at that area on the price chart. But ultimately, once we can see a confirmed breakout well above $100,000 with candle closes above that area, then in that case, the next major price target to the upside is sitting at around $113,000, which is this 2618 Fibonacci extension on this 3-day Bitcoin chart. And as for important support to pay attention to on this chart right here, we have this previous Fibonacci extension currently acting as major support, sitting at approximately $89,000. So if we see a further pullback in the short term for whatever reason, I would expect support at approximately $89,000 if we were to see a short-term pullback. But with that being said, taking a look at this 12-hour time frame, as I've been saying here on the channel over and over again, right now the price of Bitcoin is simply just consolidating, seeing a bit of struggle underneath that $100,000 level, which is very, very similar to what we saw exactly 4 years ago. In fact, we're playing out pretty much the exact same bearish divergence here on the 12-hour Bitcoin chart as what we saw back then just 4 years ago. And so if you're new to all of this, if you're just getting into Bitcoin and you're wondering why are we struggling around this level, this is part of the reason, in fact, probably most of the reason, this bearish divergence and the price running into key resistance right now, which is why we're struggling at the moment in the short term. But this is to be expected. And this is exactly what happened last time in the last major bull market, just before the bull market continued once we saw that massive breakout beyond $20,000 4 years ago. And just to put things into perspective, if we're measuring out from, say, this high to when we ultimately broke out towards the upside 4 years ago, that was around 3 weeks of struggle, basically choppy sideways price action for 3 weeks before we ultimately broke out towards the upside. Or if we're measuring from this high right here to that breakout, that was just over 2 weeks. So we're talking around 2 to 3 weeks of struggle in the short term before eventually breaking out towards the upside. And if we're taking a look at the current day price action from this local high close to $100,000 to where we are right now, it's only been around a week and a half. So once again, this is very normal price action to see. Even if we were to see this price action again over the next 1.5 weeks, that's still very normal price action to see. And it's exactly what we saw last time 4 years ago before we ultimately saw a massive breakout beyond that psychological level of resistance, which this time around is of course that 100K level. And so as I've been saying recently here on the channel, for the Bitcoin holders out there, just be patient here in the short term, because we're most likely going to see a little bit more of a sideways consolidation, just chopping around sideways, getting ready for that major breakout beyond 100,000 that will likely happen at some point within the next 1 or 2 weeks if history is any indication. And if you want to get set up ready to go to take the next trading opportunity in the price of Bitcoin or any other crypto, personally, I take most of my trades over on Bybit, so I'll make sure to leave a link to Bybit below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link below this video to make your Bybit account and deposit on that account, then you can get up to a $30,000 deposit bonus, but only if you use that link down below this video. And also, if you use that link, it'll take you to this page right here, which is a 500 USDT position airdrop. So basically a free $500 trade as your first trade over on Bybit, but that's only available if you use the link below this video to make your Bybit account and deposit on that account. So if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check this out. Once again, first link down below this video. But for whatever reason, if you cannot access Bybit or if you cannot KYC on Bybit, there's also Bitfinex, which is another crypto exchange similar to Bybit, but you don't need KYC for Bitfinex, which means if you're in the US or the UK, for example, or another country where you might not be able to access Bybit, you can access Bitfinex. So I'll also leave a link to Bitfinex below this video. And if you use that link to make your account, you can get up to a 5.5K deposit bonus. And only if you use that link, you can get an exclusive 10% discount on all trading fees on the Bitfinex exchange forever. But that's only available if you use that link below this video to make your Bitfinex account. So as another option out there other than Bybit, once again, there's Bitfinex, links down below if you want to claim those extra bonuses. But with that being said, taking a look at this Bitcoin chart on the 6-hour time frame, and what we are seeing right now is a new bearish cross in the 6-hour Bitcoin MACD. And so what this actually tells us is that just in the short term, as in over the next few hours or days, we have lost pretty much all of the bullish momentum in the short term for the price of Bitcoin. And we're actually starting to gain a small amount of bearish momentum, because if we're looking at the last couple of times this signal is confirmed on this time frame, we did either see a slight little pullback and some choppy sideways price action, or a bit more of a pullback over the next 1 to 2 days. And so just don't be surprised if perhaps over the next 1 or 2 days, we either just see some choppy sideways price action like this, or perhaps a slight little pullback like this before seeing a bounce later on. Because remember, this is still talking about the short term, as in what could happen over the next few hours or days. When we're talking weeks or months, we have to zoom out to the larger time frames. And right now, these larger time frames are still looking very, very bullish. And so this 6-hour chart actually aligns very well with this 12-hour time frame, with how I've been saying we're most likely going to play out a bit more of a sideways consolidation underneath that 100K level before ultimately breaking out sometime soon, sometime most likely in the next 1 or 2 weeks potentially. And if we're taking a look at this 2-hour Bitcoin chart, obviously over the last 1 day, we saw another major rejection from this neckline right here for this potential inverse head and shoulders pattern. But as I've mentioned recently here on the channel, we need to actually see a confirmed breakout above the neckline before this pattern is actually valid. So this pattern was never valid because we never saw a confirmed breakout above this line right here, which was sitting at approximately 98,500, give or take. And so at this point, this previous inverse head and shoulders pattern right here on the 2-hour time frame that was potentially forming but never actually confirmed is essentially completely invalid at this point. Obviously, it never actually became valid to begin with, but even the formation phase is now broken. So even if we break out above this neckline, basically we don't have any more inverse head and shoulders pattern right here. But with that being said, this neckline is still acting as resistance. So if we come back up, expect some resistance at this line right here. And currently that's sitting at approximately 98.1K to 98.2K. So just above 98,000, expect short-term resistance around there. And then once again, strong resistance closer towards 100,000. And if we're taking a quick look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, right now we have a lot of liquidity still sitting at approximately $100,000 and just above 100,000, as you can see, which essentially essentially means once we can finally see that confirmed breakout above 100,000, that will likely liquidate a bunch of short positions, which will push the price much higher in a short squeeze. And so in other words, we'll likely play out a similar outcome to what we saw exactly 4 years ago. But once again, we first need to break out above 100,000, which will likely take some time, potentially another week or two. And if we're taking a quick look at the Bitcoin dominance chart on this weekly time frame, right now the Bitcoin dominance is on the very edge of a major break towards the downside. So obviously over the last couple of weeks, we've already seen a decent pullback in the Bitcoin dominance here on the weekly time frame. And over the last couple of weeks, while the Bitcoin dominance has been pulling back, of course, a lot of altcoins have been performing very, very well over the last couple of weeks. And so if you're new to crypto, you've already gotten a little taste of what an altcoin season is like. Just simply take a look at some of the gains the altcoins have had over the last couple of weeks, but that's just a small little sample of an altcoin season. If we see a major breakdown here below this line of support in the Bitcoin dominance and start forming lower highs and lower lows, that would form a significant altcoin season where we could make life-changing money in the altcoin market over the next 6 to 12 months. And so definitely make sure you're subscribed to this channel with notifications turned on so that you don't miss out on any of these important update videos. And I just posted a previous altcoin video just a few hours ago here on the channel. So if you missed that video, definitely check it out. And once again, if you want to trade these moves in the price of Bitcoin or any other crypto, check out those links down below this video to claim those extra bonuses. And if you want to actually know how to trade crypto, no matter if the price is bullish, bearish, or chopping around sideways, you can profit in all of that price action by watching these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.